A San Diego County Board of Supervisors meeting featured that guy who's right beside me, who is essentially not interested in complying with mask mandates or getting the vaccine during this deadly pandemic. Unfortunately, we gotta watch this video, so let's take a look.
That's the wind. That's the wind of time. That's the wind of history. That's the wind blowing through your ancestors' bones, begging you to do the right thing.
Sir, can you please state your name for the audio
wind
record?
That
Sir.
Matt Baker is calling upon from Ocean Beach. Is blowing through the black people, through the white people, through the Chinese people, through the Mexican Americans, to the people that built this building with their bare hands to raise up this nation. They are begging you, and they are blowing through your veins, and they should be putting a tingle up the spine of your back, and they should be begging you to do the right thing. You're about to open a pit of hell. You do not get a vaccine passport put on us. You know, as the population who's in control, you know that the people who are the politicians, once you get a power, you will never relinquish it. Do you think that the 4 feet of marble that holds you above high in this chamber will help you from the fate of humanity which you are unleashing?
Matt Baker, making his voice heard during a San Diego County Board of Supervisors meeting where the majority of attendants were against a mask mandate.
Yeah, that was a good first take, but maybe we could dial it back just a little bit. It's not quite what the director's looking for. It's a performance. The guy went there hoping that he would get them all like riled up in support of him. And they did, because there's no bar. You can say anything as long as you're against the mandates, but he should have scripted it better. It really didn't make a lot of sense. The winds of time, they're through the bones of the ancestors and the spine of your back. It's not great, I think, considering, just based on first appearance, better than I would have expected. But yeah, no, I feel bad for like these sorts of like local governments that they have to deal with this. We've been seeing videos like this throughout the pandemic. And it's easy to speculate that we know that in America we have, a lot of problems with mental health that are not treated, that are not diagnosed, that no aid is given.
Yep, 1 in 5 Americans have a mental health illness. 60% of them are getting no treatment, have not been are not getting any help for it, because not because they don't want help, it's because we have a for-profit healthcare system that doesn't provide help.
Yeah, and then because they're, that's 1 in 5, so tens of millions are just out there, and there are, cruel, cowardly grifters in media that just, fill their heads with nonsense, teach them that just being really, really mad and talking about the Constitution means that you're a good person. And then they send them out there at local governments, at their Congress people. And so we have chaos like this, a local government that is just trying to do what it can with the limited powers and resources that it has to fight against people like this on a daily basis.
Well, you wanted Matt to tone it down a little bit, but he wants to take it next level.
No?
Next level. And this time, can you blame Matt for wanting to talk about what the real enemy is?
Oh, no.
It's not COVID, people. It's Anthony Fauci.
Hail Fauci! There's been a lot of talk about the Nuremberg Code. Well, I brought you a copy. You are all in violation of Section 1. Yes, you, Dr. Wooten. You are in violation of the Nuremberg Code, which is international law. And the definition is...
Thank you, sir. Your time has expired.
The definition, we shall not be coerced. All of this is coercion. The vaccine passport is coercion. And the penalty for violating the Nuremberg Code is...
violating the orientation of the meeting. Please take a seat. Please take a seat.
Yep. So
that meeting lasted 4.5 hours. Look, I'm not a proponent of meetings in general. I hate meetings. That was literal hell on earth. Like 4.5 hours of that.
Sometimes in a Zoom, Brett will scream like that, and it's just like, God, I don't need this. Not in the afternoon, man. Yeah, and so it's kind of like on the surface, I'm sure people are laughing. It's a little bit funny. The guy's crazy or whatever. And then what did it take? A minute to get to the penalty is death. So it's not against the Nuremberg codes. It's ridiculous, but he doesn't care about the Nuremberg codes. You think this is a guy that gives a lot of deference to like international law and treaties and things like that?
I mean, he does have the Statue of Liberty on his shirt. So
that's true.
I trust him.
That's true. I can't see anything other than the green though. No, it's all just an excuse to get to the penalty is death. So we have a disagreement. Whatever, I'm not interested in the disagreement. I get to kill you now, or at the very least, somebody gets to kill you now. That is the right's go-to. It is, we don't just disagree. You're all pedophiles, you're all Satanists, you're all illegitimate, we get to kill you. And unfortunately, like that guy is not gonna, sway a lot of right wingers, but that's the sort of messaging that they're getting from a lot of people with platforms that reach millions of people. There does not have to be any consideration of difference. There is no debate. That sort of environment is designed to allow regular citizens to have their voices heard. But there are not a lot of regular citizens anymore. There are people like that are just desperate for someone to come along, hand them a gun, and point them at all the bad people that they're supposed to kill.
Okay, look, let me try to provide a little bit of calm, a little bit of a happy side to this story because it does in fact exist. So as I mentioned, this is in San Diego. And while you hear the incredibly noisy minority here speaking out against vaccine mandates and mask mandates, there are some pretty positive statistics coming out of that county. 74% of San Diegans are fully vaccinated. 74%.
That's not bad.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. So, I don't know, just latch on to any good news you can find.
Sure, and by the way, I mean, we see a lot of craziness about mandates and mask, mandate bans and things like that, but we also can look at the polls and we know that these are widely popular things.
Yep.
Even amongst Republicans, something like 45% are supportive of the exact sorts of things that red-faced man is ranting about. But there's still a lot of people like that, and that is scary, even if it's not a majority.
It is scary, mostly because it highlights the mental health issues in the country, to be honest with you, that go undiagnosed and untreated, and that's an issue. But also, there are people who believe crazy things with no evidence and you can't get through to them. And I think that it's also a little bit of a failure of our healthcare system in that, think about it, people don't trust our institutions. And I think that's a very real problem that I don't blame them for, right? So I'm not trying to legitimize the craziness that you guys just saw in those videos, but what I am trying to say is, our institutions have failed the American people over and over again. And I mean, pharmaceutical companies, for instance, we're still dealing with the opioid epidemic. We're still dealing with people dying of opioid overdoses. And pharmaceutical companies are behind that epidemic, right? So I can understand why people are not so trusting of pharmaceutical companies and all of that. I also understand why people are, if you don't have a relationship, a close relationship with a primary care physician, which many Americans don't, like the idea of going in and getting a vaccine, right? Like think about it. I remember having a conversation with my doctor about COVID, about the vaccine. I asked a bunch of questions, but I have a close relationship with my doctor. Before I even had insurance, like I would pay out of pocket just to go, remember $100 I would pay just to get an annual checkup but most people can't do that. I was incredibly privileged to do that. But my point is, throughout the years, I built a relationship with my doctor and I trust my doctor. Imagine if every single American had that kind of trusting relationship with a primary care physician. Imagine if people trusted in our institutions. I would argue that we wouldn't find ourselves in this giant conundrum today where people just don't trust anything regarding the data and the efficacy of these vaccines, So I don't know, I feel like that could have been But that's something that would take years. That's like literally changing a huge systemic issue that we have in this country. And I mean, we saw what it was like to promote something like Medicare for All. And the disinformation that was put out there by corporate media and by corporate politicians.
Yep.
I'm not saying all of this to discourage people. I think that we continue fighting and we need to continue fighting. But my point is, this pandemic has really crystallized, for me and for a lot of people, just how much of a disadvantage we're in because of our healthcare system, especially during a pandemic. Like, we could have been in a much better place. We could have been better prepared. But again, the profit motive behind our healthcare system put us at this disadvantage.
Yeah, and it hasn't gotten any better since the beginning, more than a year and a half ago.
Right.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.